Welcome to The Current by TreasureCoast.com, where we discuss interesting people, places, and happenings on Florida's Treasure Coast.
I want to thank you again for being on. I know that you're busy, and I'm happy that we could kind of get together to have the conversation. And I think it could be a good idea to start with who you are, what made you want to run for mayor, and kind of what led you up to where you are today. That might be a good
Sure.
framework.
Sure. My personal background, I 40 years in the semiconductor business. Before my wife and I came back to retire here to the Treasure Coast, specifically to Vero Beach. I spent almost the last 20 years of my time in Silicon Valley, based out of Sunnyvale was the headquarters of I worked for a subsidiary of Fujitsu located there. And that's where we lived. And that's, we enjoyed ourselves per se. And then we decided to come back to Florida to retire. We had met here in Florida in 1989 and got married in 91 and kind of traveled in various parts of the United States in pursuit of my career. And came back here, and that's how I ended up here. And how I got into be the mayor is just wanted to give back to the community in general, was advocating, and I still do, public policy for the Alzheimer's Association, to both our local representatives, Senator Grawl or Robbie Brackett, who's our state rep, and Senator Grawl is our senator, and also new Congressman Haranopoulos. Was doing that, but I needed something else to do. We were having some issues in our community regarding traffic calming. I live in what is known as the Central Beach area of Vero Beach, which is on the Barrier Island, and we decided that was getting involved in my local area of what's going on, and one thing led to another, led to another, and it just kind of cascaded into making a run in 2019, my first time, and my first two times I was not successful, so running for city council. I had only moved to the city in 2018, so I guess a brag here is, I guess in the history of the city, it's the fastest anybody's ever gotten elected to city council, even though it took me 2 times to do it. 3 times, actually, was the charm. And also the fastest or quickest or whatever you want to anybody's ever become a resident and become the mayor, which happened in 2022. I became the mayor in 2022. We elect a mayor here every year, because every year we turn over to city council. There's either 2 seats up on the odd years or 3 seats up on the even years. And then that city council votes for the mayor. That's how the mayor gets elected, because all the 5 seats are at large. And I got elected a mayor in 22, 23, and 24. So, and my other brag is although there's been another mayor who served 3 terms, I'm the only guy who did it 3 times in a row. So the only three-peat mayor, so whatever that means, but you got to have a brag in life, so that's my brag.
That's great. And it's nice to have a little bit of a backstory. I find puts things into perspective a little bit. Since then, since 2018, what are some of the projects that you feel have been most impactful, or what are things that you've looked at and been most proud of from where you're sitting?
Yeah, from the beginning time I ran, 2019 was kind of an inflection point in my getting involved in the community. That's the first year I ran, and that year I got appointed by Governor DeSantis to the State Health Improvement Program for Alzheimer's disease and related dementias. To work on it, and I'm still working that. That's a working group that's on. But I also that year got selected to serve on the Utilities Commission for the city, and also the Three Corners Steering Committee. So I was part of the Three Corners Steering Committee, that working with DPZ, who was the design firm, working on a design that eventually went to referendum, and eventually that's what we the cities decided to do. It was an overwhelming referendum for Three Corners. It was 80% to 20% was the the vote percentage break for versus against. So that's how I started getting involved. Okay, getting involved then, getting involved originally with the traffic calming issue, which got me into this political loop, per se, political service loop,
Right.
and then getting involved and interested and wanting to be as impactful as I could, trying to because I have time. A lot of people don't have time to invest. They're busy running their lives and getting things done for their families. I had that time, and I thought almost 20 years of my career had been working for, like I mentioned before, retirement was for Fujitsu, which is a Japanese company, and you learn how to build consensus. You learn how to work with people and understand, and no matter what person, what level that individual is, listen to them, because you never know where a great idea is coming from, and where someone could be impactful with a thought. And I think that helped me a lot working the campaign to understand the citizens, and that's why I think, in many ways I was lucky enough to get elected so quickly, and in both positions. It's because of my ability to listen and work within a team, kind of manage a team, direct a team, understand that a team is a team, and a lot of times that word gets misused and overused, but really the contribution of each individual really becomes greater than the sum of the whole if you can use those contributions to the best interest of what you're trying to do for the citizens. And that to me is what I've been trying to do since I got elected.
That's good to hear, and that's an interesting perspective as well, coming from a more corporate world where you're kind of honing those relationships, and sometimes you have to work with people in different ways to get different things done. And you had mentioned Three Corners. How and that's something that we had talked about previously, where that's one of those things people see on social media. They're not sure what they should make of it. How are things going with that? And what are some things that you see about it that make you excited for people who are living or visiting?
Yes. I say, the Three Corners project is really it's a project that's really going to be impactful for the whole Treasure Coast, not just for Vero Beach, not just for Indian River County.
Yeah, agreed.
Even extending up into the Space Coast. You're talking 32 plus acres that sit on a lagoon that belongs to a city, and I will challenge anybody to find that much area on any body of water on the east coast of Florida that's still not undeveloped or under contract to be developed or something like that.
Right.
I think was especially unique to this one, which makes it a more challenging opportunity, we'll put it that way, is that land was in our charter. And to get it to anywhere to be developed, it had to come out of the charter, which required the citizens to vote for it. And part of the design process that I was part of with the Three Corners Steering Committee was to get what the citizens wanted there. And the one thing, there was a lot of things they wanted there, but the one thing they didn't want there was a large-scale, high-end condominium development.
Sure.
And you will notice, if anybody looks at that development, the developer that we picked at this point in time, which we're going into negotiations with, there are no condos. There are no housing there. It is strictly a commercial, hotel, marina, open space, merchant type operation, development. Everything, and actually also includes a fishing pier and a skateboard park, believe it or not. So it's because what we try to do is kind of make it a park surrounded by a commercial development, and this is only on a north 16, almost 17 acres, just north side of it. There's a bridge that divides the two sets of acreage, almost in half. On the north side is approximately 17 acres where the old power plant is located. On the south side is where the current wastewater treatment plant is located, which is another project we have, of which we're going to be moving the wastewater treatment plant to our airport area. So these north side, south side equal approximately in 35-ish, 34-ish acres or so. But we're just concentrating now on the north side. And so that's what we're going to try to do there. Try to concentrate where people can come to that location. And if they want to go to restaurants, they can go to restaurants. There's a marina there. There are going to be 2 hotels located there. There's kind of a Mercado kind of mercantile kind of area for people which we're going to convert the power plant to. And it was kind of an open area, park area for people to enjoy. So whether you come there to do that or you just come there to walk the lagoon area, you're going to have full access to the lagoon, whether you use any amenities or you just want to come and enjoy the lagoon. So that's what we're going to be doing there. And I think that's very impactful for our community, but it's going to really impact the whole Treasure Coast because I think it's going to become a spot where people can meet and have discourse. And then, if they want to enjoy themselves, some entertainment, something for the family, depending whether you're by yourself or your whole family is there, I think it's going to be the place people kind of point to. And at least that's the goal. That's the goal.
Right. I agree with you. I mean, I think a lot of people around the Treasure Coast look at that. I think that's why it's followed closely by a lot of people, because a lot of people do see the potential there. And I think just like many developments, people see different things. They're posted on social media. They're not sure what is what and which is which. And I was talking with Mayor Hudson in Fort Pierce about a similar development where, once something is approved and, a year or 2 goes by, sometimes people lose sight of remembering different aspects. And I can understand that to a degree as well from my point of view. And I know that you also have the work that's going on downtown. How has that been going? Because I know the whole Ideas for Downtown website has been pushed for probably over a year now at this point.
Yeah, even longer actually. Yes, but yeah, the downtown. See, actually, this sounds crazy maybe, but Three Corners, even though it's taken since 2019, actually before that, because we hired the designer before that time.
Yeah.
Seems to have taken a long time. It is, and I hate to use the word easier, but it's somewhat easier to control than doing downtown. The reason is we're going to pick a developer, one person who's going to be from our standpoint, the go-to person when we have issues, when we have discussions, we have negotiations, when we want to understand what's going to be built there, we come to a final agreement. And you convince the citizenry that this is the best for the community is the community is going to get. They make their input. Downtown is more like herding cats. Okay. And I don't say that as an insult. I say that as the fact that you have individual business owners who may or may not own their property. So now you're going to talk to multiple landlords who all have a different goal. They may have owned this property for decades, or they may just have bought the property. Okay?
Right.
They have different, they're all entrepreneurs in general. When you think of it, they're all entrepreneurs in one way, shape, or form. You have multiple entrepreneurs who have different goals because they have different corporate goals, different personal goals, and so on and so forth. And they all have their own vision of what they think downtown should be. And now you have to mold those visions together, which you try to do when we put a plan for downtown. And then you have to convince the rest of the citizens who don't necessarily live downtown that investing in that downtown area is something that's going to be beneficial for the community in general, for a lot of reasons, commercially, housing-wise, trying to attract and I can say this from an older person, a younger demographic, which has a tendency to be more kind of even though Vero Beach isn't really truly urban, but because that urban moniker, people have a certain
Yeah.
vision of that, but it's a more densely a more dense area, I should say. So you look at that and you see that it's a multiple level kind of selling and discussing and trying to accommodate different people. And we've been marginally successful in doing it. Okay. I think people have some misconceptions about density, and therefore there's been some pushback. But what we've been able to do is we have new lighting going downtown, and we call it an historic economic zone. That zone is will be installed, has already begun, actually just begun last week, installing some new lighting that'll be impactful to making the area more conducive to people who want to walk. Our main street is 14th Avenue, and that 14th Avenue, the city is going to get involved in designing all new lighting on 14th Avenue, because at one time we used to own up our power company. We don't. We sold that to FPL a number of years ago. They have different rules and regulations how you can work with FPL providing electricity. So we're going to have to do a new design of the lighting going down our main street, so we're able to people to tap into the electricity downtown for decorations or for festivals and that type of thing. So we're getting involved with that. We're getting involved with we put in our capital budget to revitalize Pocahontas Park. It's an effort that we began a couple of years ago, with Piper helping us out by giving some money, donating some money actually to our Main Street to help with design to get done. Then under a master plan for downtown, another design was generated by that design firm. So we're going to kind of a reconciliation of designs that be probably run through Recreation Commission, which is going to moderate that with public outreach, find out how we want our park to look downtown. It hasn't been revitalized or refurbished in two maybe almost three decades.
Right.
So long overdue. It's also the home where we have a pickleball university down there, which is a great draw. We're going to be updating our community center, which is located in conjunction with the park. So we got a lot of things going downtown, which it's going to start to revitalize it. There's also a twin pier upgrade, which is State Road 60, which divides out kind of in a Y surrounding, kind of bifurcating our main street. But that's going to be upgraded by FDOT, because it's an FDOT road. That design should be starting sometime this year. So with a lot of things happening downtown to be more impactful, state road, child care resources. We used to have fish and wildlife development downtown on almost an acre of land at 3 buildings. They took over that building complex. They're going to be upgrading the child care resources, which is a really impactful organization we have in our community, a 501c3. They're going to be adding more children that they're going to service, which means more traffic coming into downtown as parents and teachers and instructors come downtown. They're going to be they have a certificate courses that are given childcare, child care education, and take and services. So they're going to be giving those on weekends. So that's going to bring more people into our downtown area, as a draw. And then their second phase is what they call Alice housing, asset limited income, constrained employed. So that which is 120% over mean income in a given area, which is your firemen, your teachers, your police, many of your hospital workers, the people we really rely on to keep a city moving, keep a community moving. They're going to be installing, I think, in excess of 50 units of that type of housing in their second phase on that site. So there's a lot of things going to happen on downtown to kind of, I don't know if you say liven it up, but just to change it and bring it, making it a different destination for people to go to, and people to be more comfortable to come there. more comfortable just to stroll around and not just make it a destination. And I think it's known for many of its excellent restaurants down there, some of its
Right.
entertainment. So I think we're going to try to work on that and build on that, and work with the different landowners and business owners. I think that's our best bet of developing that downtown area. Work with work with what we have. Work within the confines, any constraints that we have with the downtown area, and trying to incentivize as much as we can the development and the structures of downtown, and working
Yeah.
with all the business owners. Yeah.
That seems like
So,
it seems like a good plan, what you're saying, and I think you're right. I mean, a lot of building around a lot of what's been put. I mean, you mentioned Pocahontas Park. I know pickleball has gotten crazy there, and a lot of the restaurants and stuff downtown that have drawn people anyway, and kind of building around the, I guess, culture or micro niches that have been there, and kind of working with those
yeah.
business owners and property owners. I could see that being a
Right.
successful driving force.
Yeah, but a lot of these entrepreneurs have done it. They did it they made the bet, if you want to put it that way. They went in, a
Yep.
number of them decades ago. One of them is the Brackett family. The Brackett family invested in the theater there, um, maybe a generation ago, and it's been a great investment for them. But they've waited a long time for that, and they invested in when nobody else would, when downtown was vacant. People don't know offhand the name of the family. The Pocahontas apartment building, same thing. They made some investments on it, and there's been other people doing that, kind of trailblazers, and other people have come in, and those entrepreneurs have made it this. I hate to use this, the scene that it is. Okay, what it is now, but you like to capitalize on that. You like to make it to the next level, per se, and because there is a need for it. There's a need to have a diverse community from the standpoint of age groups. That makes a vibrant community. That keeps people within your community here. Right now, 40% of everybody who comes into our city and county, but specifically the city, comes from outside the city. They're traveling in from somewhere. You would like to retain a better percentage of those people, because those people stay, they spend money, they raise their families, they begin a whole kind of ecosystem of work and play that's important to the vibrancy of a community. And I think that's what we can do with that. Hopefully we can do with downtown.
Yeah.
And
I think Vero Beach in general has done a good job. Since I was, you had mentioned you met your wife in '89. That's when I was born, and a lot of times when I talk to people,
okay,
I
now
I
I
hate
feel
to drop
really well.
I hate to drop that. No,
That's
well, it's funny because my perspective growing up, if we went to Vero Beach or Fort Pierce, or we would go to Hobe Sound, a lot of these places, and I'm from the Palm City Stewart area. And,
yeah.
of course, we would travel around the Treasure Coast. And I think a lot of the Treasure Coast has done a good job, for the most part, of maintaining the character that
Mm-hmm.
kind of flourishes. You had mentioned other areas of the East Coast. And of course, there's always that balance of trying to, you had mentioned people and the pushback on higher density, the condos, if there were to be condos in a place like, I think we were talking about Three Corners,
3/4.
right? And of course, there's other things that go along with that. You had mentioned, and I know you kind of wanted to touch on the wastewater and maybe septic to sewer conversions and all these things that happen that coincide
Mm-hmm.
with all the other things that make
Mm-hmm.
the headlines.
Yeah, I mean, we that the wastewater treatment plant, which we actually good news, and we'll be discussing it at this coming next Tuesday's city council meeting, is that it's a major project of impactful for not only ourselves in the city of Vero Beach, but we also service the South County area of Indian River County, and also we service Indian River Shores. We provide them their water and in many instances sewer, and we'll be also doing some of their uh, potential, some of their additional sewer hookups as we go to septic to sewer conversions. But that was 100. Last estimate we got prior to this week was $177 million to get that conversion done. It actually, the new bid that we'll be approving at the city council meeting is actually at $164 million, which is a nice breath of fresh air. Gets some under the last estimate, and that's got some built-in contingencies also. And that doesn't include the fact that we've got just short of $38 million worth of grants to be netted against that. So we're going well, pointing in what we call, it's known as One Water, which is taking water and making it. It's you're including stormwater, you're including your water for irrigation, you're including also potable water, and of course your sewer treatment, and how you can make that an ecosystem of sorts that provides a product, and really it's a product that your constituency is using, and the ratepayers are using, and they're using it, and they're confident that they're getting a quality water product. We're meeting the needs and demands of being on a lagoon, and from an environmental standpoint, and you're doing it as cost effectively as possible, and which is always always something you have to bear in mind. Is people pay for these investments one way, shape, or form. It's included in their rates, and I think as we go forward with that, we've done and I believe, of course, I'm the cheerleader for the city here, but I believe we've done a proportionate amount of impact of the size of our city on the lagoon. We're taking 5 million gallons of water a day. Eventually, once the pipeline is complete, we're going to take 5 million gallons of water a day. We're going to treat it and pipe it over to Johns Island Water, of which they will go ahead and use that water to water their golf courses. Now everybody says, pay us for that. Now, that's only going to build that pipeline from the city standpoint, it's only impactfully costing us $1 million, because the rest of it is being funded by the Johns Island Water District, and it's also from grants. Now, what's impactful about that is, we're cleaning up water and selling it, but it's replacing. They're now using this equivalent amount of water, 5 million gallons a day, that's potable. They're taking it out of the aquifer to do that. Now, that's a win-win. That's two wins on both cases. It's a win, cleaning up the lagoon, but it's a win also in getting the fact potable, the aquifer, and what needs to be done there, and helping lowering depletion of the aquifer, and managing water and the water resources that we have. So it's it's a I think we do, from our standpoint, for the size of our city, and if we have such a small footprint on the lagoon, I think we're being as impactful as you possibly can.
Yeah, I think that's a good bar. I think that's a good bar to set, is the impact that you're having on the waterways, and of course that's always top of mind for a lot of people on the Treasure Coast, is how our waterways, how they look, how they feel, and the quality.
Well, you grew up here, so you understand what's happened to the lagoon. So in 1995, you're 6 years old, so you understand, how it's changed, and and it's going to be a long road, and everybody's going to make their contribution to get it closer to what it used to be. And I think we're doing it. We're doing it.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I want to make sure, because we're past 30 minutes now, and I know you've got
That's
another
okay.
appointment. I want to respect your time. What are
That's
some things that you're most excited about when you look forward 1, 5, 10 years down the line? What are some things that you get excited about that you think locals and visitors can get behind?
Sure. I mean, we have a city that, I think for the size of the city, Vero Beach has become, and I know this, it goes crossways to some people, and I apologize for this, but I'm a marketing and sales guy, so forgive me, okay? Vero Beach has kind of become the brand of Indian River County, and that's fine. It happened organically. I don't. It's not like somebody started a big marketing campaign, invested. It just happened a number of years. So right now we're about to open a customs facility at our airport. We have one of the busiest private airports, not only in Florida but in the United States. And we're taking advantage of that. We have an entrepreneur on one of our fixed-based operators, Corporate Air, has invested, in bringing a customs facility that will inure to the city for that facility, and that's going to create traffic, and more people coming to the city. We have two facilities in Riverside in Riverside Park. We have our museum, which is going to be going into a $100 million expansion of the Vero Beach Museum of Art. It's one of the leading art museums in the whole country,
Oh
definitely in
yeah.
Florida. Yeah, and it's an impactful entity now, and it's going to be even more impactful as it expands and grows, and generates more interest, but also generates more service to the community as it serves as the community that they're located in. The other thing is the Riverside Theatre is going to go under an expansion.
Right. Yeah, I'd heard
Right
about
now,
that.
the back of the house is going to where the currently used trailer is going to be. They're going to add on to back of house, but they're going to go into a general expansion of stage, of the theater, of the park in front, of the children's theater. That the final estimates aren't in on that, but I would say, this is kind of a wild guess. It's probably $30-50 million kind of expansion. So you have these two, and that theater, by the way, is the most successful nonprofit SAG theater in the country. I mean, we don't take road shows per se. They produce their own shows there, which is an
Yeah.
amazing thing. And so we're going to expand on that, and and that becomes a nucleus of what's happening there, and it's going to become a kind of a generator of entertainment and culture for the whole community, because these people and the patrons who support these organizations are investing significant dollars, and the community will get the benefit of this. And you couple that along with what we're doing at Three Corners and what we're trying to do downtown. Then we have a marina kind of expansion. So I really see a community, the city of Vero Beach, trying to adapt to what's happening, going to happen in the future. We're not growing from us. We're not annexing, and we're not growing that way. So the whole counties are growing around us, and we're trying to adapt to the demands of our citizens. That buzzword kind of thing, effective, efficient, government for public safety and quality of life. And I think we have an excellent philanthropic community, an excellent community that stays involved with what's the needs of the community, and they're trying to adapt and trying to provide entertainment services, culture, businesses that thrive in the future. We have the largest private employer in Indian River County is located in Vero Beach. That's Piper Aircraft, and so Piper is undergoing. They're doing great these days. They're at capacity, booked well, investing in their workforce. Spoke recently with the president of Piper. They have their own medical facility, clinic on site. They're putting a cafeteria on site. They have a gym on site. They're doing things that are kind of done in the big areas of town, of the world. Like the Grummans and the Boeings of the world. They're trying to do that because they understand that a workforce, a trained workforce, and that kind of business is hard to maintain and hard to recruit, and you need to be competitive. So I think we've got a lot of well-minded community people who are trying to work not only community, government, nonprofits, public-private partnerships, and trying to get things done for the community. And that even goes to, we have an organization here called The Source, and The Sources work with the unhoused population and trying to work with them and to try to get them rejuvenated of sorts. They're buses that they've made. So it's really a community that's working together, and it's really it's good to be the mayor here. Okay, if you want to be out there and talking to people, and that's the kind of mayor you want to be. There are people who work with you and talk to you and give you their ideas, and they don't always agree. Trust me, they don't always agree with you. Okay, probably most of the time they don't, but they're willing to have a conversation about it, and you learn a lot when you talk to people. When you go out there, and some people probably say I do it too much, but go out there and talk to people and sit down and have coffee and lunch or whatever, and just talk to people, and you find out a lot of things. And I think that's the key behind everything from my standpoint.
Yeah, I think that's good. And I think those are a lot of good things that people can look forward to. I totally agree. When you mentioned Vero Beach, the Museum of Art, I mean, they really are just like, I wouldn't say underrated, because I think a lot of people know what they have there, but it's probably one of the best museums, and the exhibits that they put on there. I mean, they really are just a world-class museum right there. And yeah. And I appreciate your thoughts. I appreciate you giving everybody an idea of things they can look forward to, maybe updates on things they've seen, and additional information on things that they might see on social media. And
That's a wrap for this episode of The Current by TreasureCoast.com. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Follow us on social media or visit TreasureCoast.com for local events, tips, and news. Have a guest or topic you'd love to hear on the show? Let us know at TreasureCoast.com. Until next time, keep riding the current and enjoying everything the Treasure Coast has to offer. See you soon.